Hello, this is Tom O'Donnell, the Senior Safety Officer for the Lehigh Township Volunteer Fire Company. Welcome to the video version of the Lehigh Township Volunteer Fire Company Firefighter Safety Class. So, I guess you're wondering why have we switched to a video class rather than an in-person standard training class? First of all, we constantly have new members joining, and trying to run classes for them is difficult and time-consuming. Also, since it is an annual requirement for all firefighters to receive this class, we thought it would be more convenient and more time effective to prepare a video that everyone could watch in the comfort of their home at any time that they wish. Please let us know how you feel about the video versus a live class. Let us get started with our class. Your instructors will be myself and Safety Officer Travis Wuchter. Administratively, the class should last somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 hours, depending upon how much time you take in breaks at your will whenever you choose to. There will be a test at the end which will consist of 25 questions. It will be a Google format and you will be given information on that later on in the program. As I said, this class is once a year, mandatory. And I'd like to introduce the safety officers to you that we have in our company, and then we're going to discuss the goals of the class. Travis Wuchter. Travis has 39 years of service with the Lehigh Township Volunteer Fire Company. He joined when he was 16 years old. By 18, he had completed all training requirements mandated at that time to become a firefighter. Since 1989, he has been a certified critical incident stress manager. He has completed numerous Fire Academy and National Fire Academy training courses in all aspects of fire and rescue operations. He was appointed a safety officer on 1 January 2023 by Chief Haggerty. Mike Tripoldi has 34 years of service with the Lehigh Township Volunteer Fire Company, 4 years at the Carl Place Fire Department in Long Island, New York. He's attended numerous schools including water rescue, terrain rescue, hazmat, vehicle rescue, and Firefighter 1. He's also served 12 years as the Lehigh Township Volunteer Fire Company Vice President. He was appointed as Safety Officer in 2021 by Chief Hildebrand. Myself, I have just under 20 years with the Lehigh Township Volunteer Fire Company. I've been a firefighter for 13 years prior to being appointed as Safety Officer. I was a top call responder for 6 years in a row as a firefighter, and I was selected as Firefighter of the Year in 2009. I'm Pro Board certified in Firefighter 1, Firefighter 2, Fire Instructor, Fire Officer 1, Basic and Special Vehicle Rescue, and Safety Officer Operations and Water Rescue. I was appointed as a Safety Officer in 2017 by Chief Hildebrand. The 3 safety officers in the Lehigh Township Fire Company have a total of 92 years in the fire service. Now understand we're not bragging, but we're rather informing you that we have a wealth of knowledge that is constantly watching over your safety. Now we're going to talk about the goals of our safety class. First of all, we want to inform all members of the duties and responsibilities of the safety officer. Everybody thinks that the safety officer's only job is to look out and make sure you're tagged out, have your gloves on, and eye protection. But really, we do a lot more than that, and we want to let you know what that is. We're going to cover and discuss various safety topics, 12 in all. We could have made 20 or 30, to be honest with you, but the 12 we selected we feel are the most important to discuss. We want to foster a culture of safety in the department. What does this mean? Let's look at a definition of what a culture of safety is. A culture of safety in the workplace refers to positive attitudes towards keeping employees safe while they do their jobs. This means from top to bottom, everyone is thinking about safety. Firefighters and the chief, all the way in between, everyone is thinking of safety at all times. And our last goal is to reduce the likelihood of death and injury to our members, the most important goal that we have. We would like to remind you, not only is your safety important to you and to us, but it is important to your families, because if something happens to you, It affects your entire families and your extended family and all of your friends. In this segment, we're going to talk about fire casualty statistics and trends in total firefighter injuries. The good news is deaths and injuries are on a decline overall for the last 20 years. In 2022, we had 96 deaths, line of duty. In 2023, the latest stats that we have, as you can see in the slide, indicate that we had 89. The biggest killer remains overexertion, heart attack, and stroke, as you can see in the pie chart. The number 2 killer is vehicle accidents, responding and returning, and that represents 10 deaths in the year 2023. 10 deaths, too many. And take a look at training. That one kind of always jumps out at me because you don't think training is dangerous. Training is very dangerous because we train for the real thing. And we had 9 deaths in training in 2023. Of course, cancer is quickly becoming our biggest killer in the long term, and we will be discussing cancer with a slide later on in this presentation. Injuries overall are in decline, as you can see by the chart, but they were up from last year by about 3,000. The largest cause of injuries remain strain, overexertion, followed by falls, slips, and trips. This, of course, is a very dangerous profession, so we ask you to always stay alert and stay alive. So you may ask, why have deaths and injuries gone down over the years? It's a very good thing, but there are reasons for it. First of all, we have much better equipment now than they did in the past. Personal protective equipment, self-contained breathing apparatus, and vehicles that are much, much safer. The second thing is we have better training. A third is the introduction of safety officers back in the 1970s. They did make a difference. And fourth is the introduction of safety culture in the fire service, also back in the 70s and 80s. These all came together to make a difference in the lessening of deaths and injuries in our fire service. The next topic we have is the safety officer position. First of all, prior to 1970, there were no safety officers in the fire service. You were pretty much on your own, looking out for your own safety, and your officers looking out too. In World War I and World War II, we found out a lot of things about safety. People were working in dangerous jobs, making munitions, and so forth, and there were many injuries and deaths. And so the unions became involved in that, and they instituted mandatory safety throughout the industries, which helped everywhere. In the 1970s, the California Fire Department initiated the position of safety officer for the first time, and this spread from there. In 1987, NFPA 1500 and 1501 were published. That was the standard on fire department safety and health, and it established the safety officer position formally. Why safety must be a priority? Everybody probably has an idea. Obviously, we work in a very dangerous profession. So our job is safety up and down the line. We want to make sure everyone goes home at the end of the day. So we've determined how the safety officer position came about. Now let's talk about the duties of the incident safety officer. And as I stated before, it's not just tags and gloves and eye protection that we're looking at, although those small things are very important, and they tend to preclude the larger things. So we want you to understand that we do a lot more than that. So let's talk about what we actually do on the scene. We establish rehabilitation in coordination with the incident commander when required. When we have long jobs or extreme weather conditions would be an example of when we would do that. We monitor the scene for hazardous conditions, such as trip hazards, wires, overhead obstructions, and collapse zones. We establish the personnel accountability system. We establish it, but we do not run it. because we have other things to do. So we normally appoint somebody to do that, perhaps a firefighter who is not qualified to go inside, but is qualified to be on the fire ground, and they will take over that type of a job. We will monitor it and make sure that it's done properly during any job, but we do not run it ourselves. Ensure personnel understand the incident action plan. The incident commander is responsible for all operations orders on the fire ground or any emergency situation. Our job is to make sure that his operations orders are followed. We provide the incident commander with risk assessment, an update on fire conditions, road conditions, wind, and weather. Those are the type of things we give him. We suggest safety zones, collapse zones, hot zones, and other designated hazard zones. We also evaluate motor vehicle traffic hazards, whether the road should be closed, what are the road conditions, and blocking vehicles. We monitor radio transmissions constantly, specifically looking out for maydays or any type of problem that maybe comes across the radio. We identify a need for additional safety personnel in larger jobs. Sometimes you may need 2, 3, or 4 safety officers, depending upon the size of the incident. We also evaluate landing zone hazards when helicopters come into play. We're looking for overhead obstructions, weather conditions, and uneven ground. We also confirm that RIT is in place. It is not our responsibility to do it, but it is our responsibility to make sure that it is done. The incident commander is responsible for setting it up. As you can see, it's a lot more than gloves and tags. We're responsible for a lot. Now we're going to talk about the authority of the safety officer. This comes directly from the Lehigh Township Volunteer Fire Company Standard Operating Guidelines and NFPA 1501. Our authority supersedes all other personnel, including officers, in the event of an unsafe or dangerous act occurring. Our duty is to stop that, and we have the authority to do it. We're responsible for the safe conduct of all personnel during emergency operations and also in training evolutions. We're responsible for the administration of the Department Accountability System, as I stated previously. We are responsible for it, but we do not actually run it. We have the authority to immediately correct situations that create a danger to personnel. That means we do not have to wait till we get back to station or get into vehicles to go back to tell somebody that they should have been safe. We do it immediately at the scene for obvious reasons. We have the authority to countermand orders or stop operations that present undue hazards to firefighters or to others. An example would be flashover situations or backdraft situations. When we began our class, I said that we were going to be discussing 12 safety topics, and these are the topics we will be covering. First of all, we're going to look at personal protective equipment, what is the proper equipment, and the proper wearing of that equipment. We're going to discuss ID tags, and we're going to discuss mayday situations, decon and overhaul, traffic accidents, procedures for safety at traffic accidents, vehicle and driver passenger safety. Remember, vehicle accidents are the second leading killer of firefighters. Rehab, of which we have a new SOG. Personal health and physical fitness, which is a new SOG, and we will be covering recommendations to lower heart attacks and strokes. Cancer awareness, which is a very big concern now in the fire service. We have a new SOG in that area, and that'll be covered. Safety and training. As I stated several times already, we had 9 deaths in 2023, so safety and training is a priority. Injury reporting, how important it is to report injuries in a timely manner. And making safe operations okay, fostering that culture of safety in our organization.
Personal protective equipment. PPE is not just about wearing gear, it's about ensuring that we are fully protected, functioning efficiently, and keeping ourselves and others safe while performing our duties. The fire company has developed a specific standard operating guideline, SOG number 13, regarding PPE. We'll cover the proper donning and doffing of PPE, maintenance practices, and the critical components such as gloves, eye protection, SCBA, face pieces, and more. Additionally, we'll emphasize the importance of regular checks and annual inspection to keep our gear in optimal working condition. Proper donning and doffing of PPE. Donning and doffing is the process of putting on and taking off our PPE. Proper procedures here are critical in ensuring not only our safety but also the longevity of the equipment. Donning PPE. The first step is to inspect your gear before wearing it to make sure everything is in working order. Start with the boots and pants. Ensure that they are tightly secured. Then put on your coat and secure the collar and cuffs, ensuring no gaps are left. Put on your helmet, adjust it snugly. Doffing PPE. When the call is over, take off your gear carefully. Remove your gloves, helmet, and coat, being mindful of any contaminants. Always clean your PPE when it has been used fighting a fire, when it has been exposed to hazardous materials, or is soiled from use during a call. Cleaning and putting PPE back in service. When soiled, our PPE needs to be cleaned to remove dirt, contaminants, and other hazardous materials. Proper cleaning is vital to maintaining the effectiveness and longevity of our gear. Here's a quick rundown. Cleaning. Follow the manufacturer's instructions on washing and drying each piece of equipment. Disassemble your coat and pants before placing them and your gloves in the fire company's washing machine. Be sure to follow the instructions found at the washing machine. Once washed, hang them to dry on the fire company's drying rack. Clean your helmet and boots with a mild detergent. Avoid harsh chemicals that can degrade the materials. Assembly and inspection. Once dry, reassemble your PPE, making sure to inspect the pieces for damage, wear, or contamination. Check for holes in your coat or pants, and look for cracks in your helmet or borks. If you find any issues, remove the gear from service until it is repaired or replaced. Proper gloves and eye protection. Firefighting requires a combination of dexterity and protection, so the right gloves and eye protection are non-negotiable. Firefighting gloves must provide both protection from heat and sharp objects, as well as enough tactile feedback for handling tools and equipment. Ensure gloves are in good condition, no rips, tears, or worn-out seams, and that they fit snugly. Firefighters are constantly exposed to smoke, flying debris, and intense heat. It's essential to wear proper eye protection, such as a helmet-mounted borks and safety glasses or goggles. These must be worn at all times, particularly during active firefighting or rescue operations. SCBA, the self-contained breathing apparatus, is one of the most critical pieces of PPE. It protects us from inhaling harmful smoke, gases, and chemicals. Ensure that the face piece creates a tight seal with the face. The fit should be checked during the donning procedure, and the strap should be adjusted for comfort and security. Always check that the air supply is functional and that the cylinder is full. Regularly inspect the regulator, hoses, and connections to avoid leaks or malfunctions. After use, your entire SCBA should be cleaned. The face piece should be cleaned with a disinfectant wipe or in a dedicated cleaning solution. The pressure regulator, air cylinder, and backplate and harness should be cleaned with a mild detergent. Avoid harsh chemicals that can degrade the materials. Reflective vests. Visibility is crucial when working in hazardous environments, especially at night or in low light conditions. Reflective vests ensure that others can easily see you. Make sure your reflective vest is worn over your turnout gear so that it can be clearly seen. The vest should be in good condition, clean, free of rips or holes, and properly fitted to ensure it doesn't interfere with other equipment. Radios and communication. Effective communication is essential during an emergency. Firefighters must always carry a portable radio and ensure it is working correctly. Before each response, ensure your radio is fully charged and functional. Test the channels and make sure you can clearly hear and transmit messages. Radios should be easily accessible but not obstructive to other tools or PPE. Personal tools. Firefighters rely on a range of personal tools to perform rescue and firefighting tasks. These include axes, pry bars, thermal imaging cameras, and other hand tools carried in your gear. Ensure your tools are in good working condition. Check for sharpness, secured handles, and proper function. Keep tools within easy reach and maintain them regularly to prevent failures during an emergency. Buddy checks. Firefighting is never a solo effort. One of the most important safety practices is the buddy check. Before entering a hazardous environment, ensure that your partner's gear is properly donned and functional. Regularly check each other's PPE for any issues and ensure both of you are in full working order before engaging in any operations. Annual PPE inventory and inspection. Finally, all PPE should undergo an annual inspection to ensure it meets the highest safety standards. Each piece of gear should be inventoried and carefully examined at least once per year. The condition of the materials, stitching, seals, and functionality should be reviewed. Any gear that no longer meets safety standards should be replaced. Document the inventory and inspection using the Google form sent by Fireman's Relief. In conclusion, PPE is the first line of defense for firefighter safety. It's critical that we understand how to properly don and doff our equipment, clean and maintain it, and ensure it's always ready for service. Regular inspections, buddy checks, and communication are key to protecting ourselves and our teams. Safety begins with our equipment, and by following proper procedures, we can make sure we're always prepared for the challenges ahead. When it comes to PPE, there's no room for compromise. Identification tags. ID tags are crucial to the well-being of every firefighter on scene. These tags are an integral part of our accountability system and play a key role in ensuring our safety during emergencies. The fire company has developed a specific standard operating guideline, SOG 1.0, regarding the use of these identification tags to maintain proper personnel tracking, accountability, and safety during all operations. Let's walk through the details of these guidelines and their importance in our day-to-day operations. Identification tags for all gear sets. The fire company provides every firefighter with identification tags that correspond to the gear they have been issued. This includes structural gear, forestry gear, and water rescue gear. These tags are designed to ensure that you are easily identifiable by your unique identifying information in relation to each gear set. Whether you are responding to a structural fire, wildfire, or water rescue, the proper identification tag will be available and tied to your specific gear, which is essential for accountability, especially in critical situations. Attachment and placement of identification tags. Each identification tag will be equipped with a clip that allows it to be secured to your gear. It is recommended that the tag be clipped to an easily accessible location, such as the front of the coat. The location is chosen for quick and efficient visibility, making it easier for accountability officers, team members, and the safety officer to see and identify the firefighter at a glance. Ensuring that the tag is securely and easily visible ensures that the accountability system is always in place. Firefighters should make it a habit to double check that their identification tag is securely fastened to their gear before responding to any emergency. This ensures that the accountability system is maintained at all times, even before entering the emergency scene. A key point in our standard operating guideline is that no firefighter is allowed to board any apparatus unless they are wearing their identification tag properly displayed on their gear. Having the tag properly attached and secured is an important first step in ensuring we're ready for any situation. It should not be removed unless required for specific accountability actions. Surrendering the ID tags. During any emergency situation, particularly when entering the hot zone, which could be at a structural fire, automobile accident, hazardous material incident, or other such emergencies, each firefighter is required to surrender one ID tag to the officer on the truck before exiting, and the other to the designated accountability officer before entering the hot zone. Surrendering the ID tag ensures that the officer on the truck and the accountability officer know exactly who rode on the apparatus and who is inside the hazardous area. This is vital for monitoring personnel safety, especially in high-risk environments. It also helps track the amount of time spent in the hot zone, which is crucial for managing firefighter safety and ensuring no one is left behind or unaccounted for. Monitoring activities and time in the hot zone. The safety officer will actively monitor the activities and the duration of time each firefighter spends in the hot zone. The safety officer's role is to ensure that no firefighter exceeds their time in the hot zone beyond a safe limit. They'll monitor conditions and communicate any necessary instructions to firefighters regarding when to retreat from the zone. As soon as the safety officer or officer in charge issues an order for retreat, all personnel must immediately comply. This ensures we adhere to safety protocols and that we do not expose ourselves unnecessarily to risk. Retrieving identification tag after the hot zone. Once the firefighter has left the hot zone or after the emergency is over, It is required that each firefighter retrieve their identification tag from the accountability officer. This retrieval process is critical for completing the accountability cycle. It helps ensure that everyone who entered the hot zone has safely exited and is properly accounted for before leaving the scene. After retrieving the tag, firefighters should ensure they are ready to return to the fire station, ensure the tag is properly displayed and available for future responses. Lost tags. If at any point an ID tag has been lost, you must notify an officer immediately. As soon as possible, a temporary tag will be issued to you and a replacement will be ordered. Secure possession and use of the ID tag is your responsibility. Your ability to respond to calls and your safety depends on your possession of the ID tags. In conclusion, the use of identification tags is more than just a procedural requirement. It's a vital part of maintaining accountability, ensuring safety, and improving our overall effectiveness during emergency operations. By following the fire company's SOGs, we ensure that each firefighter is always accounted for, that their safety is closely monitored, and that we are all working in a coordinated, efficient manner. Remember, your identification tag is not just a piece of gear, it's a critical safety tool. By keeping it secure, surrendering it when exiting apparatus and entering the hot zone, and retrieving it after the operation, we maintain a safe and accountable environment for every member of the team. Fireground Mayday Procedures. The fire company has developed a specific standard operating guideline, SOG number 29, regarding Mayday procedures. This SOG isn't just a guideline, it's a lifeline. Every firefighter needs to know when and how to call a Mayday, and what roles each of us play when one is declared. Let's break it down by each key component of the Mayday procedure. When to call a Mayday. We'll start with a simple but powerful rule. If any of these situations happen to you, then call the Mayday. Call the Mayday immediately if you fall through a floor or downstairs, a structural collapse traps or injures you, you become lost or disoriented inside the structure, or you get stuck and cannot free yourself. Don't wait to see if it gets worse. Call the Mayday. You can always cancel it later if your situation improves, but hesitation can cost time, and time is survival. How to call a Mayday. Here's the step-by-step process. First, open your mic and clearly say, Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. Second, wait for acknowledgement. If you don't hear back, activate your pass and open your mic again for 5 full seconds. Third, once acknowledged, provide key information. Who, what, where. Who are you? What happened? And where are you? Fourth, after transmitting, keep your pass active and focus on survival tactics, such as search for an exit if possible, breach a wall if needed, and most importantly, control your breathing. Role of Incident Command. Once the Mayday is declared, the incident commander takes immediate control of the radio traffic. Here's what the IC must do. First, announce, command to all units on the fireground, Mayday has been called, all units, immediate radio silence. Second, gather critical information. Ask the Mayday firefighter who, what, where. If there's no response, IC may need to initiate PAR to identify the missing firefighter. Third, activate the RIT. Rapid intervention must be deployed without delay. Fourth, coordinate with Communications Center. Request a separate channel for tactical operations and initiate the next alarm assignment. Fifth, delegate Mayday operations. Assign another chief to manage the Mayday so the IC can resume overall incident operations. And finally, close the loop. Once the Mayday has been resolved, whether by rescue, recovery, or self-rescue, notify the comm center that the Mayday has been concluded. Role of the Rapid Intervention Team. RIT has one mission only, rescue the firefighter in distress. A good RIT team will do the following. First, stay stage where directed. Do not freelance. Second, get a full briefing from Incident Command. Third, continuously size up the structure and make recommendations. Fourth, monitor personnel location and activity. Communicate with the safety officer and accountability officer so that you are totally informed. And fifth, know your individual role before activation, not during. Role of other firefighters. If you're not involved in the Mayday, your job is still important. First, continue assigned operations unless otherwise directed. Second, be prepared to assist in the Mayday response if requested. And third, do not clog the radio. Maintain discipline on the channel. Everyone has a part to play in a Mayday scenario. Training the Mayday call. Here's the truth. You won't rise to the occasion, you'll fall to your level of training. Mayday procedures must be second nature. Think about it like military pilots practicing ejection procedures. They train again and again so that when the unthinkable happens, they don't freeze, they act. Many on-scene activities become second nature because we perform them continually. Think about applying absorbent and sweeping up debris at an accident scene. These are routine tasks, and our frequent experience allows us to recall how to perform them efficiently without much thought or risk of injury. Responding to a Mayday situation is entirely different. A firefighter may spend an entire career in the fire service never having been a part of a Mayday. Yet because the stakes are so high when it does occur, all those on scene need to respond as if they have experienced it 1,000 times. Because Mayday situation is so infrequent and such high risk, the only way to ensure a rote memory is by training our response over and over. We train not because it is common, but because it is high risk and lives are on the line. Final thoughts. In the fire service, we protect each other by being prepared. Know when to call a Mayday, know how to do it, understand your role, whether you're the one in trouble, on writ, commanding, or on the line. Practice like your life depends on it, because one day it just might.
Now we're going to discuss decontamination and overhaul, specifically dry versus wet decon, personal protective equipment during overhaul, and the cleaning of your gear. Our new SOG and procedures for wet and dry decontamination at fire scenes have been created and are continuing to be updated. Our current procedure is to rinse off debris at the fire scene before clearing the scene, wiping all necessary parts of your body down with dude wipes, and laundering gear when back at station. I want you to know that decon kits have been placed in the following vehicles: 4721, 4741, 4712, 4731, and 4742. They consist of one pocket hose, hand sanitizer, hand soap, 2 hard brushes for brushing off debris from your gear, dude wipes for wiping yourself down, spray degreaser, and microfiber towels. We want to remind you it is recommended, and it is in our SOG, that all members take a shower as soon as they return to their homes to lower their cancer risks. Keep in mind, whenever you're at a fire, you have a lot of carcinogens on your gear, which can get onto your skin, and it's best to go home and shower those off. The new state fire commissioner is urging all fire companies in the Commonwealth to develop policies and procedures for fire scene wet and dry decontamination. We have done so, and we will continue to do so in the future. Personal protective equipment during overhaul. This is something that we've made mandatory now. The gases produced from the products of combustion are found to be worse, more harmful during overhaul operations than the initial fire attack. And that's more than likely because we're tearing things apart, and then we have a lot of airborne carcinogens landing on us. So keep that in mind. We expect you to be in full PPE, including SCBA, and it must be worn during overhaul at all times. Examples are 1 full PPE, gloves, helmet, turnout gear, full SCBA, and you must be on air during overhaul. Cleaning of your gear, very important topic. We expect you to clean your gear on a regular basis. We want you to clean it as soon as possible after fighting any fire or hazardous material situation. We have an excellent washer downstairs. We paid over $11,000 for it, so please put it to good use. This will minimize your exposure to carcinogens.
Firefighter roles and responsibilities at traffic accidents. Traffic accidents are some of the most dangerous scenes we respond to, not because of fire or entrapment, but because of traffic. Motorists are unpredictable. Visibility may be low, distractions are everywhere, and seconds matter. Here I'm going to cover our roles and responsibility at traffic scenes, focusing on safety, scene management, and professionalism. Let's start with one of the most important and often overlooked tools, the pink emergency scene ahead sign. This sign grabs driver attention and creates an expectation that something unusual is ahead. It helps reduce driver confusion, which in turn lowers our risk and limits liability. The minimum distance for placing this sign is 10 times the posted speed limit in feet. For example, on a 45-mile-an-hour road, the sign should be at least 450 feet from the scene. This distance must increase if there's a hill, curve, or limited visibility. In rain, fog, or snow, the sign is absolutely vital. Let's be honest, this is an area where we as a department need to improve. It starts with awareness and consistent use. Moving around the scene safely. The best way to avoid getting hit by a car is to not be in the road. But when we have to be there, follow these steps. Maintain situational awareness. Keep your eyes up, head on a swivel, and never turn your back to traffic longer than necessary. Limit the time you're facing away from traffic. Have an escape route every time. Watch each other's back. We're a team. Speak up if someone's in a dangerous position. Use the lane plus one rule. Close the lane of the incident plus the one next to it whenever possible. Closing roads may inconvenience drivers, but it could save your life. Blocking vehicles. Proper placement of blocking vehicles is a non-negotiable item. The goal is to protect personnel and create a safe working zone. Use large apparatus like engines to block upstream traffic, ideally at an angle to deflect any oncoming vehicle that might strike. Make sure wheels are chalked, brakes set, and emergency lights activated. Let's talk about cones and flares. Flares are not official traffic control devices, but they can provide immediate visual warning until cones or signs arrive. Be cautious. Chemical flares can be dangerous, burning you or starting a fire. Use cones as soon as it's safe to do so. They're visible, stable, and recognized by all motorists. They should be used to create a traffic taper around the work area. Their use on an accident scene as soon as possible is required by PA law. Scene lighting. Proper lighting is crucial to safely operate at night or in low visibility. Scene lights help us see victims, hazards, and each other. Use 360-degree lighting when possible. Avoid blinding oncoming traffic. Adjust or shield lights as needed. Lighting isn't just for us. It's also a visual cue for approaching vehicles to slow down. Emergency lighting protocols. Use emergency lighting purposefully. Consider using emergency lights even on non-emergency responses. Always use emergency lights on an emergency response to ensure visibility. During the incident, maintain lights, but consider tone and intensity to avoid blinding traffic. When released, secure lights and equipment. Don't forget to use them on the apron when backing up the apparatus. Headlights, a subtle but important tool. Headlights should be used all the time, while driving day and night. Once parked at the emergency scene, consider turning them off if they are blinding oncoming traffic. However, they can also be used as a warning device when appropriately aimed. Use good judgment based on conditions and visibility. Chalking wheels. Simple but critical. Always chalk wheels on any blocking vehicle, especially on inclines. Prevent unintentional movement and increase scene stability. This is part of your apparatus setup checklist. Don't skip it. Safety vests. Every firefighter operating on a roadway must wear an ANSI 107 Class 2 vest. This vest must have fluorescent and reflective material. It must be properly labeled to show it meets standards. Our department policy requires vests on any roadway, state or local. Make it a habit, make it automatic. Tow trucks. Tow trucks present hidden dangers. They're part of almost every accident scene, but they introduce new hazards. Stay clear when the winch is in operation. A snap cable can be lethal. Tow operators have a dangerous job. Let them do it. Only assist if requested and with extreme caution. Here are some final thoughts. Traffic scenes can go from routine to deadly in a heartbeat. The key is predictable setups, vigilant behavior, strong teamwork. Let's keep each other safe out there and do the job right. Emergency response vehicle and crew safety. Driving smart, staying safe. The fire company has developed a specific standard operating guideline, SOG 7, regarding emergency response procedures. Emergency vehicles get us to where we're needed most, but they're also one of the greatest risks we face. Whether you're behind the wheel, riding as a passenger, or spotting from outside, your actions carry a serious responsibility. Here I'll cover the essentials of driver safety, vehicle positioning, crew responsibilities, and safety protocols, not just for you, but for everyone in and around the rig. Let's talk about speed, on and off duty. In personally owned vehicles, POVs, responding to calls, you must obey all traffic laws. Just because you're a firefighter doesn't make you exempt from stop signs, red lights, or speed limits. Your safety and public trust depend on it. In the apparatus, even during emergency response, safe speed must always be maintained. Remember, arriving safely is your first assignment. Excessive speed increases risk, reduces reaction time, and doesn't save much more time than you think. Spotters and blind spots. Backing safely. Backing up is one of the most dangerous movements we make. Spotters are mandatory every time. Always use a spotter when backing at the station, emergency scene, the training ground. Drivers must check all mirrors and be aware of blind spots, but nothing replaces a trained spotter with radio and hand signals. Spotters must maintain visual contact at all times. If you lose sight of the driver, or the driver loses sight of you, stop immediately. Vehicle positioning, scene control begins here. The first arriving officer or incident commander plays a critical role in vehicle positioning. Apparatus should be placed to protect personnel working on the scene, allow for quick egress, and leave space for additional arriving units. On highways or major roads, follow the lane plus one rule, blocking not just the incident lane, but one additional lane for safety. Don't park too close to hazardous areas or where access might be needed later, like hydrants or entrances, exits. Smart positioning supports both scene safety and efficient operations. Driver's responsibilities. The driver's job doesn't stop at the steering wheel. Pre-check the vehicle before each response. A quick walk around can identify issues such as unlatched doors or tires with low air. Know the route, traffic conditions, and potential obstacles. Maintain situational awareness during response. Watch for pedestrians, other vehicles, and unexpected changes. Always maintain radio contact with the officer and crew. Drive smoothly and predictably. No jerky stops or aggressive turns. You're not just a driver, you're part of the team, responsible for getting them to and from the call safely. Truck officer's responsibilities. The officer riding front right is the co-pilot, not a passenger. Assist with navigation and communication during the response. Make sure everyone is belted in before the vehicle moves. Monitor the crew during the ride. Are they calm and focused? On scene, assist the driver with parking, positioning, and spotting. Lead by example. When the officer is squared away, the crew follows. Seatbelts, no exceptions, no excuses. Let's be absolutely clear. Seatbelts must be worn by everyone every time. Whether you're in an apparatus or POV, moving 1 block or 10 miles, no exceptions. It doesn't matter if you're the driver, officer, or riding in the back. Seatbelts save lives, period. Departments across the country have lost members in rollover crashes that seatbelts could have prevented. Don't let that be your story. Final thoughts. Safety is a mindset. Driving and riding in an emergency vehicle is a high-risk activity that we often treat as routine. That needs to change. Stay alert, follow protocol, look out for each other. Safety isn't just about gear, it's about behavior.
Rehabilitation, a very important subject. We're going to discuss the history of it, rationale behind it, why are we doing it, the key components of rehab, and we're going to discuss the Lehigh Township Volunteer Fire Company's Standard Operating Guideline. History of rehab. How did it come about? Prior to 1982, there were no standards in the fire service for rehab. In 1982, the U.S. Fire Administration published a pamphlet on emergency incident rehabilitation, stating we should have it, but there were no guidance posted. In 1987, the NFPA publishes NFPA 1500, Fire Department Occupational Health and Wellness Program, which establishes rehab in all fire departments, but again, no specific guidelines on how to do it. In 2003, NFPA publishes NFPA 1584, which recommends rehab of members operating at incident scenes. Their guidance was as follows. After one cylinder, a 10-minute rest. Any intense workout at any scene, 20 minutes rest. Number 2, after one 45-minute cylinder or 45 minutes of intense workout, a formal rehab, which meant a check by emergency medical personnel. In 2008, the NFPA made 1584 a federal standard, but did not make rehab mandatory. What is the rationale behind having rehabilitation at the scene of major incidents? The physical and mental stresses of this job exceed other jobs tremendously. As a matter of fact, there's probably not another job in the world that is more difficult to do under the conditions in which we have to do it with the gear in which we wear. So that is a main reason for rehab. The suddenness of our emergencies is another one. Think about it. How many times have you woken up in the middle of the night with the tones being dropped and you're out of your bed, in your car, and in a fire truck in less than 10 minutes? Think about the reason why you may need some rehab after something like that. The location of the incidents. It's unique to our profession that we could fight a fire on a mountain one day, we could be in the river the next day saving somebody, or we could be on a farm handling animals. It is really interesting what we do, but because of that, we need to think about rehab. Weather conditions are always a big player in why we have to have rehabilitation. Deaths and injuries in the fire service are the main reason why we must have rehab. It is not mandated, but it is necessary. The incident commander and the safety officer make the call when rehab is placed into effect. So now let's talk about the components of rehab. What is it we're looking to accomplish when we have rehab? Relief from climate conditions, rest and recovery, active or passive cooling or warming, rehydration, which is extremely important at all times, fluid replacement, calorie and electrolyte replacement as well. Of course, medical monitoring is extremely important, checking your blood pressure, your breathing, and your pulse. And of course, supplying any medical treatment that you may need at any time. And we also provide for post-incident rehab in case you need it after the incident has happened. The new Lehigh Township Volunteer Fire Company Rehab Standard Operating Guideline formally establishes rehab, and it is established by the incident commander when needed. Some of the factors that he and the safety officers will take into consideration when establishing rehab are heat over 90 degrees, cold below 10 degrees, length of the incident, how long are we going to be at that particular incident, the complexity of the incident, and the intensity of the work required at that incident. All come into play. The general guidance for rehab in the Lehigh Township Volunteer Fire Company is as follows. Safety officers and officers will constantly evaluate their personnel. Anyone after 2 cylinders of use will be sent to formal rehab, which means emergency medical personnel will check them out. And also after 45 minutes of intense workout in personal protective equipment, that person will have to attend emergency medical technician rehab.
Firefighter Health and Wellness, taking care of our greatest resource, you. The fire company has developed a specific standard operating guideline, SOG number 30, regarding health and wellness. In the fire service, we train relentlessly to protect others. But too often we neglect the one thing that keeps us in the fight, our own health and wellness. This job comes with real risks: physical strain, mental trauma, emotional pressure, and exposure to dangers most people will never face. If we're going to perform at our best and live long, healthy lives, we must take ownership of our own well-being. In this section, I will focus on practical steps we can take to protect ourselves, not just in the fireground, but in everyday life. Annual physical. Prevention is protection. Firefighters face higher risks of heart disease, cancer, and respiratory issues. That's why an annual physical is essential. Get checked every year by a provider familiar with the physical demands of our work. Tests like blood pressure, cholesterol, lung function, EKGs, and cancer screenings can catch issues early, before they take you out of your job, or worse. This is your first line of defense against silent killers. It's not just about being cleared for duty, it's about being healthy enough to go home after the call. Regular exercise and proper nutrition. You don't have to be a bodybuilder to be a great firefighter, but you do need to be fit for duty. Regular exercise improves strength, endurance, and mental clarity. Aim for functional fitness, strength, cardio, flexibility. Nutrition matters too. What you eat directly affects your energy, sleep, mood, and recovery. Choose clean proteins, healthy fats, and whole foods. Hydration is key also. Don't wait until you're dehydrated on the fireground to think about water intake. Fuel your body like it's your most important tool, because it is. Annual air consumption test. Think of the air consumption test like a stress test for firefighters. It simulates working under air to test your endurance, efficiency, and decision making. It's not about speed, it's about knowing how your body performs in gear and under pressure. Use the results to track your fitness progress, spot areas to improve, and reinforce the importance of conserving air in the fireground. This is about more than a pass-fail. It's about preparing for the moment you need to push through with your life on the line. Mental health, the call we carry with us. Firefighting is a mentally demanding career. We see trauma, tragedy, and loss that most people never will. PTSD, anxiety, depression, and burnout are real. They're not signs of weakness. Recognizing stress in yourself or a crew member is a first step. Talk about it. Utilize critical incident stress management after tough calls. Debriefing helps process the event and support your crew emotionally. Mental wellness must be treated like physical wellness, with care, attention, and no shame. Individual responsibility. It starts with you. Every firefighter has a responsibility to the team, to the community, and themselves. Stay medically fit. Ask for help when needed, physically or mentally. Check in with your brothers and sisters. Know that your choices off duty affect your performances on duty. Wellness isn't just a policy, it's a mindset and a lifestyle. Avoiding heart attacks, the #1 line of duty killer. Heart attacks are the leading cause of firefighter deaths on scene and within 24 hours after the call. Stress, poor diet, lack of exercise, and untreated conditions like hypertension all contribute. Be proactive. Monitor your vitals. Follow up on symptoms. Don't ignore signs like chest pain, dizziness, or shortness of breath. Every step you take toward heart health is a step toward a longer life in the service and in retirement. Substance use, smoking, and suicide, the silent threats. The toughest battles many firefighters fight are the ones no one sees. Alcohol and drug misuse are common coping mechanisms, but they make things worse in the long run. Smoking and vaping damage the lungs and increase cancer risk dramatically, especially in career where our lungs are already under assault. Suicidal thoughts and self-harm are heartbreaking realities in the fire service. There's no shame in struggling, but there is strength in seeking help. You're never alone. Resources, hotlines, peer support, and behavioral health programs are here for you. Let's erase the stigma and protect each other. Final thoughts. You are your best backup. Firefighting is a calling, but it's also a job that demands we take care of ourselves, not just for our sake, but for our families, our crews, and the people we serve. Get your physical. Train like lives depend on it, because they do. Watch your nutrition. Talk about what you've seen. Check in on your mental state and your crews. Say no to habits that hurt you, and say yes to the help that you deserve. Your health is your responsibility and your legacy. Let's protect it together. Firefighter cancer awareness. understanding the risks, committing to prevention. Cancer has become the leading cause of firefighter deaths. The fire company has developed a specific standard operating guideline, SOG number 31, regarding cancer awareness and prevention. While fires may be getting smaller, the toxicity of what we fight is only growing. We're now battling more than flames. We're fighting carcinogens that can live in our gear, in our skin, and in our organs long after the smoke clears. Here we're going to talk about what causes cancer in our jobs, what research says, and most importantly, how we can protect ourselves. The hidden dangers, what we're really breathing. Let's break down some of the sources of carcinogens we encounter at fire scenes. Carpet, for example, when it burns, releases hydrogen cyanide, carbon monoxide, and PAHs like benzopyrene. Painted surfaces often emit formaldehyde, methylene chloride, and benzene. Electrical insulation can give off phosgene and hydrogen chloride, gases once used in chemical warfare. Furniture produces hydrogen cyanide, ammonia, nitrogen dioxide, and more. Smoke detectors, when they burn, can give off dioxins, which are similar to chemicals used in Agent Orange. Roofing materials release asbestos fibers and bitumen fumes. Tires and rubber emit butadiene, lead, and cadmium. Common insulation often gives off gases like styrene. Even wood, a natural material, burns into PAHs, dioxins, benzene, and formaldehyde. Diesel exhaust from our own apparatus contains arsenic, benzene, nickel, and more. These toxins don't just hang in the air, they settle in your gear, on your skin, and even in your lungs. The results. What cancers are we facing? According to the CDC, the most common cancers in firefighters affect the digestive system, respiratory tract, oral cavity, and urinary tract. These are slow developing but deadly. You may feel fine now, but the clock could be already ticking. Let's not forget about emerging threats: skin cancer, brain cancer, blood cancers like leukemia, and all linked to exposures we face. The research. Hard numbers, hard truths. A Boston, Buffalo, and Dallas Fire Department study found that benzene is in 92% of fires, often at levels well above OSHA's limits, even in light smoke conditions. OSHA states safe levels of PAHs should be about 0.75 ppm. Fire scenes, however, show levels up to 20 ppm. NIOSH reports firefighters are 9% more likely to be diagnosed with some form of cancer than the general population, and 14% more likely to die from cancer than the general population. The IAFF says 66% of firefighter line-of-duty deaths are now due to cancer, compared to just 18% from heart disease. And a Miami-Dade study found that 1 in 3 of their firefighters develop cancer. These aren't just statistics, these are about our brothers and sisters. Risk reduction. What you can start doing today. We can't eliminate fire, but we can reduce risks of cancer by changing our habits. Always wear full PPE, from the fire attack all the way through overhaul. Use SCBA until the scene is cold and cleared. The most dangerous voluntary act in the fire service today is removing your mask too early. Do a gross decontamination on scene to remove soot and particulates. Use wet naps or wipes to clean your neck, hands, underarms, jawline, throat, and face immediately. Don't wait till you're back at the station. Change clothes and shower as soon as possible. Clean your gear after every fire. Your hood, helmet, gloves, coat, pants, all of it. Never take contaminated gear home or leave it in your vehicle. Wipe down and decon apparatus interiors after fires. Those toxins settle on everything. Your gear may look salty with soot, but that look might cost you your life. Consider tracking your exposure with the N4's Career Diary app. You've got to track exposures because cancer doesn't care about the fire report. Use N4's Career Diary app to log fire and smoke exposures, track possible toxic incidents, document events that may affect your long-term health. If you develop cancer or need to make a claim, this record could be the most powerful tool for your benefits, treatment, and support. Final thoughts. This is our fight now. Firefighting will always be dangerous, but cancer doesn't have to be the price we pay. Wear your gear, use your SCBA, wash your body and your gear, decon everything, support each other, track exposures. This is about changing culture, not just following policy. Let's fight smarter. Let's fight longer. Let's make sure we're not just surviving a job, but living beyond it.
Safety and training. I've said before numerous times, and I keep saying it because it's so important. We had 9 personnel in the fire service die in training in 2023. We never, ever want that to happen to us. So, safety and training. Every time we have training, we should have a safety briefing. We should always be in proper PPE. There should be a safety officer present. And we should have an after-action review. Safety briefings. They should be before every training starts. There should be warnings on potential problem areas in the training. We should discuss hydration for all personnel. We should also update people on heat and cold information, and it should be given by the safety officer or a training officer. Proper PPE. All personnel must be in the proper PPE for the training evolution. This will be enforced by the OIC and the safety officer and all participants, which means even firefighters, look at your brothers and sisters, make sure that they're in the proper PPE. There should be a safety officer present at the training, or someone should be appointed, either an officer or a senior firefighter, as the acting safety officer for that iteration of training. An after-action review should take place after each training to discuss any safety violations or issues, to establish corrective actions, and all personnel should be involved in that review. Injury reporting. All injuries, no matter how minor, must be reported. We want you to know who to report them to, and it's the duty of the officer and the safety officer in reporting. We're going to discuss that, and we're going to talk a little bit about workman's compensation. All injuries must be reported, no matter how minor they may be. A minor injury can become major at some point, so please make sure that you report even minor injuries. The procedure is in effect to protect you and your family. And it's also there to make sure that if it's needed, you'll get workman's compensation for any injuries. Now, to whom do you report an injury? To the immediate supervisor at the scene, to the safety officer at the scene. If you're injured while you're alone, notify the chief and the safety officer any way that you can. The duty of the officer/safety officer in reporting is they will notify the chief and the commissioner of the injury, will notify a safety officer. Reports will be completed by a safety officer and forwarded to the commissioner with a copy to the chief for processing for workman's compensation if it is necessary. The safety officer will notify the senior safety officer of any injuries. Copies of the completed paperwork will be placed in the individual's personnel file and in the safety officer's file. Everything, of course, is kept completely confidential. Safety culture, making safe operations okay. I want to emphasize the fact that we are all responsible for safety, not just officers and safety officers, but everyone in the fire department is responsible for safety. So if you see something that you feel is unsafe, say something about it to another person. Make sure you notify somebody, an officer or a safety officer. Bring it to their attention. Maybe they missed it. Don't let it slide. We also want you to remember that you should never take corrective action by any officer or safety officer personally. We're not there to chastise you in any way. Normally what we'll do is we will do it privately. If we think you need to correct something, we'll take you to the side. We'll tell you what the correction needs to be. But keep in mind our reason for it is to make sure that you go home with all the parts that you came to training with or to the scene with, and that you go home safely. Don't be embarrassed to be safe, and don't belittle others who are being safe. Ask yourself, what could have been done differently to make the incident safer? Every time you go on a call, take a few minutes to go through it in your mind when you get back home and think about things that could have been done better or safer. If you remember when we started this training, we set some goals. And in our summary and conclusions, I'd like to cover those goals and determine whether we actually were successful in completing them. We wanted to inform all members of the duties and responsibilities of the safety officer. I believe we covered that very thoroughly. We also wanted to cover and discuss various safety topics. We covered 12 in all, and I think they were done very well. We wanted to foster a culture of safety in the department. We can only hope that we've done that. We really want you to be a player in your own safety. And the most important thing that we wanted to do was reduce the likelihood of death or injury to our members. And hopefully, and pray to the Lord, we will do that. Thank you for taking the firefighter safety class. We hope what you have learned may be of benefit to you as you continue your career in the fire service.
Now it's time for the test. Return to the email you received, click on the link to the firefighter safety test, and complete the test. You must complete the test by the end of October. You will be notified of the results.